It's Monday, July 13th, 2026. The weather outside is an apocalyptic hellscape. The sports week we're talking about, there's literally nothing going on unless you went to a home run derby and all-star games. Oh, and the World Cup, of course. But, a lot of this country doesn't, but we'll get into all that. But regardless of the weather, regardless of the sports landscape, the Knee Jerks always have something to talk about. That means it's time for the Knee Jerks podcast of Eno, Nick, and Big Al. I'm the Big Al of the equation, Al Beaton, longtime Detroit-based podcaster. As always, joining me are my partners in crime. First off is our West Coast correspondent who is literally baking in 70-degree weather. That is Nick Milanovich. How's things, Nick?
Not too bad. We're actually at a sweltering 75 today.
Oh, my goodness. I can see. Yeah, I'm surprised you're not wearing a parka. So.
Me too, yeah.
Yeah.
So
also, well. There you go. Great. Also joining us, as always, is the man who knows a lot of things about a lot of things. He's recently been dodging falling trees during the last storms we had, and he's getting ready to blow town for a while. And that would be Mr. Greg Eno, who posted about the 71 All-Star game today on his Substack blog, which everyone should subscribe to.
Thank you. Yes, they should subscribe. GregEno.substack.com is where you can go to do that. I will be in your inbox every Monday for free. So please do that, as Al indicated. Today's piece was indeed about the 1971 All-Star Game, which actually was played 55 years ago tonight, July 13th.
Oh, wow. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And a lot of Tigers fans, a lot of baseball fans fondly remember that game. It was filled with Hall of Famers. 6 Hall of Famers hit home runs that night. All 6 people who hit home runs that night were all Hall of Famers, is what I'm trying to say. Obviously, Reggie's blast off the light tower was the big one, but there were 6 players who hit home runs that night. All 6 were Hall of Famers. And all 10 runs, the American League won 6-4. All 10 runs were the result of home runs. Nobody batted in a run with a single, double, or triple. It was all done by home run. And Tigers had 4 representatives on the game, and post manager Billy Martin was the third base coach. So there was a lot of Detroit presence there. Just a great All-Star game. It was the only All-Star game, Al, that the American League won between 1970 and 1982.
That's right, because I remember growing up, that was a huge deal.
Yeah,
that the AL could not beat the more polished and advanced National League.
Right.
In the All-Star game. It was a big deal when they won very occasionally.
I was watching, not to get off too much of a tangent, but real quick, I was watching a clip of that game, and one of the things that struck me, it was very brief. In fact, it was very, very brief.
Yeah.
Roberto Clemente came up to the plate, and there was a shot. By that time, Thurman Munson was in the game as catcher. And there was a brief shot of Clemente saying something to Munson. How players will talk before they step in the batter's box. Yeah. And it dawned on me, he's like, man, both those guys were killed in plane crashes before the decade was over with. Clemente in 72 and Munson in 79. And what a poignant, what turned out to be nobody knew at the time, of course, but ended up being a poignant moment that those two would even, chit chat with each other during the course of that game. I thought that was pretty fascinating. It might have been Roberto's last or next to last All-Star game, because he died after the 72 season. But anyway, that was Munson's first. Anyway, so please do that. Follow me on X at Greg Eno. Follow the Knee Jerks on X at the Knee Jerks. And no guest tonight. We're going to get right into it, unless you guys want to get into whose birthday is it. It's up to you.
We always want to get into whose birthday is it. Come on.
Okay.
That's right.
So we're going to play a game we like to call Whose Birthday Is It, Maestro. Everybody knows how we play this game right now. I give Al and Nick a clue or 2 or 3 of an individual whose birthday it is today in the world of sports. And if one of those 2 gentlemen can correctly guess this person within the first 2 clues, he will receive a Rubik's Cube. A Rubik's Cube. And with Nick being a scientist, I wonder if he could solve it like in 30 seconds or something.
I was going to ask, where are the gentlemen?
As a teenager, I figured out how that thing is constructed so I can pull it apart and do it.
Okay, well, there you go.
There you go, yeah.
This person made his name in the world of basketball. He was born on this date in 1963, so he's 63 years old today. Definitely not known for being a tall man, I will tell you that, but was nonetheless carved out quite a career in the NBA and was probably maybe well known for his exploits in an All-Star Weekend festivity.
Spud Webb.
Spud Webb.
Oh, yes.
2 shows in a row where Nick has gotten to
Yes.
pick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Spud Webb. Yeah, he's 63 today. Spud was 5'7". I don't know if he was that tall, but he was listed at 5'7". Won the slam dunk contest, I believe.
Yeah.
As a 5'7" man. He played. It's funny how long he played. He was actually drafted by the Pistons, which I didn't know this. In the 4th round of 1985, and he must have been promptly traded to the Hawks because that's where he made.
He got cut. I think he got cut.
Did he get cut? Okay.
I think he didn't make it through the preseason or whatever.
Okay. Well,
something like that. Yeah.
Okay. And then anyway, he played about 13. Well, he played professional basketball about 13 or 14 years. A couple of those years were in overseas, but still, that's quite a career for a guy who was short. Spud Webb won the slam dunk contest in 1986.
Yeah, what happened to the small man in the NBA? I mean, the Pistons draft pick is what first round pick is like 6'2", and they're talking, he might be too small, and back in the day, good Lord, Muggsy Bogues is what 5'4",
Forgot about Muggsy.
Yeah. Who was that kid that played at Eastern? That made
Earl Boykins, and Boykins played like 15 seasons.
Yes,
and he was like 5'5" or 5'6" or something. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
See, they wouldn't even get a sniff today, I bet.
No.
Well, let's not forget Isaiah Thomas wasn't that tall either.
I think 6'1". Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, you have to be absolutely, I think, elite at something to, if you're below like 6'4" anymore in the NBA. So, it's the positionless league is, I guess, apparently what it is anymore. But I completely forgot about when you mentioned All-Star Game shenanigans or whatever. I'm thinking, okay, wait a second here. Is he talking about on or off the court?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right. That's how the well has been poisoned so much anymore.
I know, right?
Yeah. All right. Well, with that, Nick will get his Rubik's Cube, which he can then take apart and put back together correctly. But until that time, we have a podcast to knock out. So obviously, the Tigers are at the break. All-Star break is this week. Like I mentioned earlier, the home run derbies tonight. All-Star games tomorrow. It's like the Tigers are off to like Friday or something like that. Obviously, there's big doings at University of Michigan, close to Nick's heart, with Dusty May bailing on the NCAA to go to the NBA, and then there's a lot of stuff going on. Apparently, Ward Manuel, the athletic director, Pistons. It's all about Jalen Duren anymore, unless you get excited about Summer League, and I don't. He still hasn't signed his new contract, so who knows? There's still the qualifying offer. I think the Pistons have, drawn a line in the sand as to what they're going to pay, and Duren thinks it's not enough. And then with the Wings, they had free agency and more signings around the edges, more or less. And there's nothing's changed at all. Dylan Larkin and the trade and the trade request, other than. Eisman saying there's no guarantees we'll trade him, and we're waiting for a good offer. And apparently, Anzar Khan said, the MLive beat writer said, he added one team to the list, but Helene St. James at the Free Press, one of the other beat writers, said, no, he did not expand the list. Regardless, the list is 3 or 4 teams right now, so who the hell knows what's going on? And, of course, the World Cup, which is near and dear to Nick's heart, with Seattle being one of the host cities, there's been a lot going on there. The U.S. national team, as usual, got knocked out in the round of 16. So, got lots to cover. So, up to you guys. What do you want to start with? Anything specifically grinding your gears? I'm sorry, what was that?
Pick since he got the
yeah, that's right. What's grinding your gears, Nick?
Let's start with either Pistons or Red Wings. Let's go with Red Wings first.
All right, we'll go over to Red Wings because there was some movement in free agency. Wings have a backup goalie now. They have an old winger. They're going to lose an older winger the way it looks like, and obviously the Larkin stuff. There's been really very little change, other than the vitriol from the fan base is still vicious right now. I guess to me, I think the most important thing we've heard is that the Wings are likely going to lose Patrick Kane in free agency, along with his 16 goals, 51 points, and being essentially an ace on the power play. I mean, this is where, between the Larkin thing, guys, and now probably losing Patrick Kane, what is that, like 130 points they have to replace? That's like almost 50 goals they have to replace? Where the hell is that going to come from? Trust me, it isn't coming from Victor Arvidsson, who they just signed in free agency.
Right.
And I don't blame Kane for leaving. He's at an age now where he probably just wants to hunt for one more Stanley Cup.
Well, is there talk of where he was going to go?
I heard like Buffalo and a few other teams, but I know what's his name?
Isn't he?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah,
but I know the Elliot Friedman said it's very unlikely that he returns to Detroit.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead, Nick.
So the Red Wings last season had about 5 guys that did most of the scoring.
Mm-hmm.
It was Larkin. It was Raymond.
Mm-hmm.
Kane, DeBrincat, who was their top scorer, and Sider had actually a lot of points, mostly on assists.
Right.
But still, and after that, it fell off a cliff. Now, if Larkin doesn't hit the ice for the Red Wings, regardless of the situation now, and they're losing Kane, that's a big drop off. Now, Kane, is he that productive? He was helpful in some ways. He had 51 points, only very few goals. I mean, 16 goals isn't, anything to write home about, really. But they're hurting because even with those guys last season, they had an anemic offense, like totally anemic offense, and realizing that with the whole Larkin situation and then Kane leaving, that reduces you down to like 3 guys that will be your offense probably.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and the only thing the front office has done is sign these like old fringe players again.
Yeah.
So it's not looking like it's going to be a good season at all. I'm not sure what they think they're going to get out of this season. Bringing in the guys they did. Can they help? Sure, but at the same time, it's kind of meh. So I think it's going to be hard to watch them this year. I think it's going to be really hard to watch them personally. So
yeah, it wasn't like they were that easy to watch the last several years, to be honest.
And it'll be even worse now, like I said.
Yeah, exactly.
So, almost like 60% of their offense is not really, but 2 out of the 5 players that they relied on for most offenses are going to be gone.
Yeah.
Not that I'm excited about Kane. He's kind of older and is he doing well? Is he not doing well? It's like, he has all this hardware from his career. He's got Stanley Cups. He's got MVP awards and whatever the hell else he got. So he's not like playing for a cup like Ray Bork did, like in this first season. Yeah, desperate just for one fucking cup.
Right. Yeah.
It's not that case at all. So I'm not sure what you get from Kane. I know. Like, I think talking to Keith or seeing his postings, like, I don't care about Kane. Like, so what? So I'm not that stuck on him myself. So.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's that I'm not heartbroken that Kane's leaving, much as I did enjoy watching him play because he could actually score. It's the fact that who do you replace him with? And the big selling point with Arvidsson is that he's the 21 of his 25 goals came 5 versus 5. Came full strength, which was a huge weakness for Detroit. That's all we hear about Larson. Not Larson. I'm thinking for Larson. What do you mean, Reed Larson? No, about Larkin.
Larkin.
That that the majority of his goals came on the power play, as did Kane's. But that's the thing is that's where the majority of the Wings offense came on specialty teams. It's Nick's on to something, Greg. This is going to be because free agency's over. The Larkin stuff is still going on. at this point, it really looks like if the Wings do make a trade, it's going to be for futures. I mean, I don't know what our options they would have at this point. It's going to be an ugly season, no matter what happens at this point.
Well, not to cast further doom, but this is the contract year of Alex DeBrincat.
Yes, it is.
At the end of the year next year. So, why do I bring that up? Well, if this season is as bad as it could be, and Nick's right about, well, you're all both right about where's the production going to come from. They don't look like they're going to be very good and so forth. But no major moves yet. Of course, we don't know what's going to happen with Larkin, what they'll get back from that. But regardless, if it turns out to be a fairly drab season, then I don't know that they have a shot at keeping DeBrincat. I don't know if he wants to stick around, under these kind of conditions as well. Now, I know he's local, and I know he likes playing here in the whole 9 yards, but
and forced his way here. We can't forget that.
And that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, but things change.
I don't. At the time, he may have seen the Red Wings as a team that was up and coming, and that he could contribute to maybe building a winner here.
Yeah, I think most of us felt the same way at that point.
Right,
yeah.
And if this year comes and goes, and they finish with 75 or 80 points or something, well out of the playoff race, and he's a bona fide 30 to 40 goal scorer, what incentive does he have to stick around? So, it could mean that this is the last year for him to be in Detroit. And now you take him out of the mix. I know it hasn't happened yet, but if you potentially take him out of the mix, out of, like Nick mentioned about this putrid offense, anemic, I think he said, then and now you're really scrambling. And there's nothing coming through the pipeline that really excites me. And there's really no one that this kid they drafted, he's a nice player. I mean, I like what he brings to the mix, but he's not going to be ready for a couple of years at least. And even if they rush him through, I mean, they say natural goal scorers can score at all levels, and that's true. If you're a goal scorer, you can potentially score at any level of hockey, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you will. And so even if he's rushed through the system and makes his debut in a couple of years, kind of fast track him, I don't know. It's looking really bleak right now, and I don't know that there's really a way out. I feel like Al and Nick, I feel like we've had this. I feel like every time we talk about this team, all three of us say the same thing, and we have the same conversation with the same tone. There's and it's not our fault. I mean, we're just commenting on what's going on. I mean, but it just seems like every time we talk about the Red Wings, it's the same thing. It's the same. I feel like we could just run the same Red Wings segment we've been doing for the last 6 months, and nobody would know the difference because it's the same thing. Now there's a little different now because of the Larkin situation. They have made a couple of moves and signed some new guys, but this is. I don't know where the offense is going to come from, and I don't know. This team doesn't look all that impressive right now. It's
it just seems like a lot in common with the Tigers when you talk that way. We're talking about the same issues for quite a while now. And we'll get to the Tigers case where their star, doesn't want out. The only difference is he says he doesn't want out. He doesn't want to be traded, but it might be in the team's best interest to trade him. But regardless. They have a star player who is likely going to be leaving. And the same, I mean, you mentioned the lack of offense. Well, you could say the same thing about the Tigers at this point. The lack of offense is pretty much what has put a kibosh on what hopefully was going to be a playoff season. But regardless of all that, it's the Red Wings. They're in no man's land. I mean, we've been saying this for a while, but they, the mushy middle and all that. But they're dropping from the mushy middle. Looks like they're going back into the lottery. And honestly, that might be the best. At this point, I'm of the belief that this might be the best thing overall for them is just start over. I know we've gone over, is Yzerman the man to do this and all that? I don't think that's not going to change. It's likely going to be Yzerman no matter what. But this rebuild has failed. This must like the Tigers' first rebuild failed. And was the next wave of guys who made the difference and got them back into the playoffs. My question here with the Red Wings is we have a fan base saying, well, yeah, we have we have the two building blocks in Sider and Raymond. 2 or 3 years from now, if things don't change that much, we could be saying the same thing about them that we're saying about Larkin and DeBrincat and Kane. Now, are they going to be leaving, or should they be traded, or do they even want to be here anymore? Because the culture of losing is such a hard thing to shake, as we've seen with the Lions. It took them 60 years essentially. Once you get into this losing culture, it really feels like it's a vicious circle you reach mediocrity. If you can't get over the hump, well, you got to redo the rebuild, and boom, 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 and here we are again. It's depressing to even talk about right now. It really is.
I think you guys are right. The fact is that it's just in this vicious cycle of same thing every single year. I think we've been talking about this more than just a few months. I think there's been 2 or 3 seasons.
Yeah.
And we wondered the one year where they were on the cusp of making the playoffs, where's it going to go from here? Are they going to improve?
Yes, when they lost in the last day of the year, the last minute of the year, essentially. Yeah.
That's been their best season in 10 years.
That's a sad thought.
And not making the playoffs, barely not making the playoffs has been the high point in the last last decade. So
yeah,
that's pretty nuts.
Yeah,
and I don't see any way out of it. You're right that at some point, Raymond and Sider will probably get exhausted, or they decide they're going to do a rebuild again.
Yeah,
and that's your only 2 assets is Raymond and Sider.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get rid of them. So you pissed away their prime years.
Yep.
And sent them off for prospects, which has never been a good thing.
Right.
So it will go on it could go on for a long time.
How long did it take Buffalo? How many years did they miss the playoffs? Like almost 20 years, wasn't it?
Like 15 years or something.
15 or more?
Yeah, it was a long time.
Yeah.
And
Detroit's the new Buffalo. That's sad to say. Yeah.
And
but how did Buffalo do it, though? How did Buffalo get out of that? I mean, how did they break the cycle? I mean, it wasn't just Tage Thompson. It had to have been more than that.
No, they had a lot of I thought they had several number 1 picks, too. They spent a lot of years in the lottery. But I don't follow Buffalo that much.
Right.
So who knows? And
I mean, I guess I'm just kind of asking an open-ended question. Did they catch lightning in the bottle, or are they really, for real, a good team? I mean, I don't follow them that much either. I just know that they kind of came out of nowhere to have a really good season. I don't know if that was one of those weird anomalies, and they're going to go back to being a 85-point team again, or if they really are built for the long term. I don't know enough about the roster to know if this is sustainable, or they just caught lightning in a bottle. I don't know.
Well, probably the only way to find out is see what they do in this coming season, which way they go.
Right.
Like, it's hard to tell. I mean, it could have just been they got lucky and they made it into the playoffs. I can't remember whether they got past the first round or not. And,
yeah, I can't remember either.
So they didn't go far, regardless. So
yeah,
even though they were touted as being really good.
And a quick look up, it was 14 years for Buffalo between playoff appearances. 14 years, which now means the only other team with a double-digit playoff drought is now the Detroit Red Wings. Actually, because there's a list for everything on Wikipedia. I just stumbled on it while I was looking
this up. But the Blackhawks have got to be approaching that, Al. Aren't the Blackhawks?
The Blackhawks are at 6 years. Here's the list. Yeah, the Red Wings are at 10.
Okay.
The San Jose's at 7. The Blackhawks are at 6. So are the Blue Jackets. And then it's Calgary at 4 and Seattle at 3.
Huh.
That's the list. And there's there's like 4 teams at 2 and the rest of the league's at 1. So,
right.
Yeah, but
all right.
Detroit is in a league of their own right now when it comes to playoff droughts.
Yeah.
Al, you brought up one thing is like parallel with the Tigers, and I've heard that many times, and there's good reason to draw those parallels because it seems like the front offices have similar logic. We're building to place, do well in the future some unknown time.
Right.
Yeah.
It could be 2 years. It could be 50. For the Lions, it was 60. So.
Yeah.
But the one thing different with Al Avila, though, versus like Ken Holland, let's say they're the parallels with one another. Al Avila actually scouted and drafted much better than Holland did.
Yeah, he did.
The Tigers' success now, whether you call it success or not, a lot of these guys are homegrown during the Al Avila days. Skubal was during the Al Avila days.
Well, look at the three All-Stars, two were drafted by Al Avila, Green and Dingler. Yeah.
So, at least he gave them something. Versus Holland. Holland really.
You mean Michael Rasmussen isn't something?
I think he's the last one of the Holland era, isn't he?
He might be.
Could be at this point.
Yeah.
I can't think of it. I mean, Yzerman's been there a long time.
Yeah.
So the only thing I can see that could help the Red Wings anytime soon, and this is a big if.
Yeah.
If Yzerman gets something decent for Larkin.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to get it in the offseason. I just can't believe that. Why would anybody give up something now? Yzerman's best time to trade him is when, come February of next year, when teams are in the playoff hunt, it's the trade deadline and they want a final push.
Yeah.
I can't see it any other time. Like, why would you do it in the offseason?
Well, he does have something. Nick just raised an interesting point because I hadn't really thought of it that way. But the whole in that argument, of course, is that now you'd have a unhappy player on your roster from now until February. But let me expound on what Nick just said for a second.
Yeah.
The thing that Yzerman does have going for him in that scenario that Nick just laid out is that Larkin has 5 years, well, at that point, it'd be 4.5 years left on his contract. So it's not like Yzerman would be trading for a rental or trading a rental. Sometimes you make a move like that in February for a team that's making a playoff push. It's a rental player. They're not expected to stick around for longer than that year because they're going to be an impending free agent. That would be the DeBrincat scenario. DeBrincat may be traded in that manner, by the way. But with Larkin, that's not the case. Larkin it would not be a rental. So there would be, when you're trading a rental scenario, it's hard to ask for a lot back because the team that you're trading with typically is only going to keep that player for a few months and they're out. So you're not going to get a big haul for a rental. But Larkin's not a rental. Whoever that Yzerman trades him to, if he does in that scenario, would be a team that would be getting a player that's under contract for 4.5 more years. So that's a whole different ballgame in terms of what he can get back. That's an interesting proposition, but like I said, the negative to that is that that would mean you'd be keeping Larkin around, which I just don't think is sustainable. I think he'd be booed right off the ice. Number one, I don't know how you could play him in any home game. That you almost would just have to put him in the press box for the whole first half of the season. Then you're not. Then his trade value is. I don't know if that's going to work either. It's a weird situation right now. What Nick is saying though is he's saying I don't know, why would you make a trade for him now? Well, that's a fair question. I mean, I don't know. Maybe teams that didn't get what they wanted out of free agency, maybe they struck out in free agency but they still feel like they're right there. Those kind of teams could want maybe make a move, but again, what are they going to give up? And what is Yzerman going to get back if it's not going to be futures? Is he going to get back an NHL ready talent that he can plug in and play in this 26-27 season? I don't know. It's fascinating, really, in a way.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm hand waving when I say like what I like. Who the hell knows what's going to happen?
No, I get it.
It's a weird situation, and I don't know. I think there's just this thing in hockey. If there's any sport that has like a boring off season, it's hockey.
Yeah.
Trades don't really happen. Right. Nothing like significant. Free agent signings are for like marginal players or old players. Always,
right, because everybody keeps their superstars. Right.
Yeah.
To these 8-year contracts. I mean, that's what Larkin was on, really.
Right, yeah.
So nothing really happens. And when there's a trade, it's always a player for fucking prospects.
Right.
which I've never heard of, and probably never will.
Yeah.
And or even worse, draft picks. So
Right.
it's really kind of boring.
Yeah, no, you're right.
It's not a newsworthy sort of thing.
That's true.
But that's the reality of it. So who's Yzerman going to get? What is he going to get? What is he going to get in return? Is it going to be prospects or draft picks mostly? And then the whole, I'm only choosing 3 teams or 4 team. Ironically, I saw that posting when the supposed headline of, Yzerman Larkin expands his teams by 1 team.
Yeah.
And the only reply I could have is this has got to be the saddest thing to qualify as news. If this qualifies as, headline type news for your hockey team, this is pathetic.
Yeah.
That is not something to look forward to at all. And so I don't know. It's such an awful situation. It's shitty. And the difference also with the Red Wings versus Tigers in that comparison is the Red Wings have a salary cap. That's a whole different animal. Free agency is a different animal than baseball, which is a free for all.
Yeah.
So.
And a hard cap at that, for the most part, compared to basketball. So yeah. Oh, exactly. And for what it's worth, I did look it up, and Rasmussen was Ken Holland's last relatively successful pick. He's still in the league and all that. His last pick as a Red Wings GM was Philip Zadina.
Oh yeah.
Who was going to fill the net with pucks, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Oh yeah, net full of goals. Yep.
Net full of goals. There you go. And then Yzerman took over a year later, and the rest is something history, whatever you want to call it at this point. But yeah, it's it's just depressing talking about the Wings. But we should at least cover. They did make a couple of other moves recently. One in free agency. They have another backup goalie. Doesn't that seem like that's Yzerman's MO? Every year I'm going to sign a goalie. Yeah, a mediocre backup goalie. This year, that mediocre backup goalie is 27-year-old Daniil Tarasov. He got a 1-year, $2 million contract, played 33 games with the Panthers last year, had a 13-15-3 record with a .305 goals against and an .895 save percentage. Nothing special at all. But apparently he's going to be the backup to John Gibson. And now the top prospects in Grand Rapids will be Michael Pastava and Trey Augustine, obviously with Sebastian Cossa having been traded away. So, obviously those 2 prospects are playing Grand Rapids. And the other player they added, they finally added some more grits. And they traded a 2027 7th-round pick and a 2029 3rd-round pick to Vegas for checking forward Keegan Kolesar. I guess he's 6'2", 220. So they got a 4th-line guy. Yay! So add a little toughness. The fan base has been yelling for toughness, so let's add a 4th-line guy who might play 10 minutes a game. So that's your Red Wings offseason so far, guys.
Boring.
That's yeah.
I don't know what else to say. Just
people are bitching about the Pistons offseason. Look at the Red Wings.
Hey, the Pistons might not have been glamorous, but they were filling needs.
Yeah, they said, exactly. While the Red Wings signed a 4th-liner and a backup goalie and a 2nd-line winger, who's not going to come close to replacing the offense they're probably going to lose. So, God damn, this is bad.
Yeah, well,
it's bad.
Like Nick said, though, it's big names don't hit free agency anymore in the NHL. They really don't. You're never going to see a guy like Connor McDavid hit free agency or anybody like that. It's very rare for guys like that to not come to some sort of term.
And there was recently didn't Anaheim just match a restricted free agent offer that was crazy high? They weren't going to let the guy go.
Like 18 million or something, which is super high in NHL.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yes.
So you're not going to get you're not going to get your superstars that way. Nobody's going to trade them. There's no blockbuster trades anymore. There are very few generational talents that get drafted in any given year that might turn things. Look at what was the kid that the Blackhawks drafted a few years ago, number 1 overall?
Bedard.
Yeah, Bedard. They haven't done much since they drafted him. I mean, that didn't turn the franchise around. I mean, I don't know if they still consider if the Blackhawks still consider him as the player that they're building around. I have no idea. I don't know if he's the most talented player on the roster. Maybe he is. I don't know. But that kid, for as heralded as he was, hasn't really turned things around. It's hard. It's hard to get a player of that caliber. And if you look back at all the great players in the NHL who've been drafted in the past 20 years or so, Crosby and those kind of players, they also didn't necessarily have an immediate impact on their teams necessarily. I mean, Crosby was in the finals I think in his second year or third year maybe, so that's not bad. But a lot of other players, even Austin Matthews, the Leafs didn't really hit their stride for a few years. You need more than just drafting a young superstar, consensus number 1 overall pick. It's great for your franchise. It's great for PR. It's great to have a kid like that around. We're going to build around him. That's great. But it doesn't mean that necessarily is going to bring wins. And I keep pointing to Bedard. I mean, I don't know what the Blackhawks record is since they drafted him, but they're still scraping the bottom of the Western Conference. Still 3 or 4 years in a row now, they're miserable.
Yeah, and I just looked up the Anaheim thing I just talked about, and it's punitive to re-sign your own guy as a restricted free agent. Anaheim Ducks matched the Flyers' offer for Leo Carlson. He's a young center. I think he's like 21. Mm-hmm. It was a 5-year, $90 million offer that they matched.
Wow.
Anaheim lost 4 first-round draft picks to keep him.
Now, how does that work? I don't get that.
Yeah, it's that's essentially it's the God, how exactly does that work? Because I'm trying to look it up here.
That doesn't seem fair. That doesn't seem right.
The offer. Yeah, it's the offer sheet.
You should just be able to match the offer and and shoo the other team to go away. I don't understand.
I thought if they lost him to the Flyers, they would get the Flyers.
Okay, I'm bringing up NHL.com right now. Let's see here.
That makes more sense.
Yeah,
but the Flyers would have to give up draft picks to sign him.
Okay, because I read it was probably my mistake for reading the goddamn AI summary.
Oh, God. It's still a lot more A than it is I, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, so. Yeah, I think exactly. That's my mistake for reading that because it would have cost 4 first-round draft picks for Philly to sign him. So Anaheim matched it, and that was that. But still, that's you don't see that. Even when you see that happen very often, where someone gets offered when a restricted free agent even gets offered a contract in the NHL, that hardly ever happens. It's like GMs play tit for tat. Well, I won't offer your free agent if you don't offer my free agent, and that's essentially that. So it's rare to see a guy get an offer, and he just got a monster deal. Which makes Larkins look even better. At $8 million a year. So
I think he makes way more than McDavid too.
Yeah.
I guess you gotta look at how do other teams win. How do the Carolina Hurricanes constantly win? What did to my point earlier? What did the Sabres do to ascend? I mean, look around the league and how do other teams do it? How do they do it?
One, they have an elite coach in Brendan Moore.
Yeah, well, that's
Rod Brendan Moore. That's sure, part of it.
Of course.
But other than that, I think it's just it's one of those things where it's kind of rare where it's kind of going to work Pistons like, if you know what I mean, where it feels like the parts
Hurricanes have been winning at a 50-win clip for 7 or 8 years now. I mean I'm sorry, but they're doing something right over there. I don't know what it is. But
and that is weird because they have the same owner in Carolina that just bought Portland Trailblazers and is actually setting that franchise in flames with all the moves he's making. Yet in the NHL, he has a mono franchise. It's weird.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's
So here's part of it too, right?
Yeah.
It is, you can't win on just collecting superstars.
Yeah.
First of all, it's not possible in the NHL. You're not going to pay
Not in
that many
today's
of those guys.
NHL, no. Yeah.
And it just doesn't work just to collect superstar. Well, I say that having rooted for the 2002 Red Wings.
Yeah.
But
that was such a fun off season when they kept signing guys. That was awesome.
But that team also had somebody to trade. They traded for Dominic Hasek.
Yeah.
Right.
They
or even
traded
going
for
earlier than that,
Mariano.
and going back there, they traded for Shanahan.
They traded for exactly.
Yeah.
They traded for a lot of those guys because they had people on the
Tradable
roster
assets,
who were free agents, who signed as free agents with Detroit, who were brought up through the Detroit system, you name it.
Right.
So they had something to trade. This one is like a bag of pucks is probably more valuable than half the roster on this fucking team. But you can still build a team. Like, what did the Panthers do that they built such a good team? They had an excellent coach, right? They had they clearly had a good front office. And they had some damn good players. They don't all have to be Austin Matthews or Connor McDavid.
Right.
Yeah.
Shit, they beat Connor McDavid in that loaded team twice.
Yeah.
So, what about who's the other Florida team? What the hell's her name now? Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
They had fantastic players. Did they have superstars? Yeah, you can say they had it. But they had to have like a good roster up and down, and they had a hell of a coach.
They were deep. Yeah,
and they had some very, very good drafts where they hit on guys in the lower rounds, which is how Eisman made his reputation, and he hasn't done it here.
I hate the idea of like the only way to do it is to draft and bring up prospects.
Right.
But then the only way to get that right is if you get the first overall pick or the first 3 picks.
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's like a low probability thing. You have to suck for a long time. You have to make it through the lottery odds and whatever shenanigans are going on with that stuff, which never make any sense.
Yep.
To pick the guy, and then you have a Bedard on your team and nothing else.
Yeah. Yeah, which kind of leads me to something else that kind of on a tangent here. When the fans of the Red Wings say, "Oh, the NHL will never let the Red Wings get the first overall pick. The NHL hates the Red Wings. That's why they've never done well in the lottery." I'm like, seriously? One of the original 6 teams, a team that gets high TV ratings, a team that is a worldwide brand, yet the NHL hates them? Okay, how? Explain to me how. That just kind of drives home Nick's point about how hard it is to build through the draft because it can be so random and takes luck. And say what you will about the Red Wings in the drafts and who they've drafted, they have gotten very unlucky in the lottery.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's. We talked about this a couple weeks ago when we were talking about how it's not, a general manager isn't just rated or evaluated strictly on his drafting, and it's adding. And I was asking those questions earlier about Carolina and those other teams rhetorically, but I'm guessing that part of the answer was that they built I know that they built the roster not just by drafting. They made trades. They signed people. Do you have to get lucky sometimes? Sure, of course. Do you have to be aggressive sometimes? Maybe take a chance on trading some younger guys to get to go after some players that you feel. Where's the pro scouting? I think one of the problems that the Red Wings have, one of the areas that they are lacking in, isn't so much the amateur scouting, although you could. There's still some question marks over some of their young kids. I think where they've really been hurt is their pro scouting. And pro scouting is more than just, let's go look around the league to see what players we're going to trade for. It's more about guys we're keeping an eye on. So if they ever do hit free agency, or if they are become available in a trade situation, we're going to go and pounce on these guys and get them. Pro scouting is watching games every night all over the NHL. It's not just, right around trade deadline, we're going to send scouts around the league for possible. Yeah, you do that too. That's true. You send scouts to scout certain players who may be available via trade. Those are usually players that are rentals. That's the rental players. They'll send a scout out to scout some player that plays for the Flyers, for example, and it's getting close to the trade deadline. Well, let's send some scouts and follow this guy around for a couple of weeks, see what he's all about. But it's more than that. That's just a trade deadline scenario. Pro scouts are supposed to be, I have their finger on the pulse of the league, of the players who are hot, who are not, who are, maybe caught in bad situations. It's a lot to pro scouting, way more than amateur scouting, more than amateur scouting. And I think the pro scouting, and I'm not sure who's in charge of pro scouting for the Red Wings. I don't know at the top of my head. Those people, to me, are very culpable for what's gone on here, because adding to the roster from outside the organization, whether it be via trade or free agency, has been very lacking. And I have a feeling that one of the reasons that separates the Red Wings from teams like Carolina is that teams like Carolina and the other ones that Nick mentioned have excellent pro scouting, and they know who they want to go for. And because they're not just their Hurricanes didn't draft their way to the Stanley Cup, I can guarantee you that.
Right.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And you can see the results from the pro scouting. Like, who did they pick up? Comfer for 4 years. Perron was probably one of their better ones, which isn't saying much, right?
Right.
Yeah.
There's a few other guys. Kopp isn't that great. They had one guy that they got from the Kraken. I can't remember his name, but Sprong or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
And, just a few other guys. And I'm like, this is all like third and fourth line shit.
Right.
So,
right.
It's pretty anemic. Dominic Kubalik was one of the other ones. But and these are those guys get signed like rentals also, though.
Yeah.
Right? Like 1 year, maybe a 2-year contract if they got lucky. And so yeah, the pro scouting has been terrible. Like to fill in the gaps where, you don't have prospects. Let's see. I don't know who their head of pro scouting is. So anyway,
to look that one up.
I was trying to look that up, but
I always remember I've heard talk that it was for years. It was Mark Howe. He retired, and it's gone downhill since. So yeah,
it was Mark Howe for a long time.
Yeah, right. So
Kyle McKinnon. Wait, hold on. It says Red Wings never formally replaced Mark Howe. Let me see here. Hold on. Well, you guys keep talking. I'll find it. You guys can keep talking.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, prospects are always hit or miss, and so you got to fill up the roster with something else, whether you're trading for them or like signing them as free agents.
And those moves that the Red Wings have made around the edges compared to like the Pistons and a lot of the guys they picked up on guys around the edges like a Duncan Robinson or JaVale Green. The Pistons have made much smarter free agent signings on those short 1-2 year deals compared to the Wings. The Wings have not gotten any kind of real impact from those guys compared to like a team like the Pistons.
No, not at all. I mean, the ones that the Pistons picked up have been contributors. It's not like Troy Weaver did like fringe players too, and like he got James Wiseman and gave up a ton of crap for Wiseman.
Yeah.
Got nothing out of that, but
exactly.
No, there's not. There is not a director of pro scouting listed in the Red Wings hierarchy.
Maybe they need one.
Right.
They have pro scouts. They have pro scouts, but they don't have a director of pro scouting,
which seems odd.
And Mark,
the irony,
So, oh wow!
I didn't realize they didn't have one at all.
So,
I didn't either.
Well, it seems like a good time to segue to the Pistons, as I just compared some of the Red Wings moves to Pistons moves, and there's the one move that hasn't happened with the Detroit Pistons yet, guys, and it's really been a stalemate at this point. is at Pistons center Jalen Duren, who is a restricted free agent. I think probably wants close to the max, which is what, $45 million. From all accounts, the Pistons have kind of drew a line in the sand, and it's probably closer to 35 to a contract they're interested in giving him. And from all accounts, there's kind of a standoff where Duren went around trying to find a market for his services, which is pretty much dried up. I think there's might be one or two teams left that may have cap space, but they don't need a center or they're really, really bad. So, like Sacramento. So, Duren could sign a one-year qualifying offer. I remember when Greg Monroe did that, like a decade and a half ago or something like that. And he ended up moving on, and actually it ended up being best for everybody because Greg Monroe never lived up to his first-round draft pick promise. But that would also mean Duren leaving a shit ton of money on the table and betting on himself that he can play himself to that max deal. But his play style, I don't think really would lead to that because he's not a stretch five. He doesn't shoot jump shots. So it's kind of led to the point where the Pistons are saying, okay, we'll just wait you out. And it kind of leaves the fans frustrated as they were hoping for a big swing. And it looks like the big swing is ultimately waiting for Jalen Duren to sign a long-term contract. And that's the thing. I want them to keep Duren. I mean, for all the people saying, oh, they should just move on from him because he sucks in the playoffs. But he's only 22, for fuck's sake. And the fact is that who do you replace him with? Especially at this point. There's no one out there to replace him with. He's either got to sign a long-term deal or he signs a qualifying offer. And also, the other thing to remember, if you sign a qualifying offer, that's essentially also a no-trade clause. You are stuck with that team for the year to become a free agent.
Right. Yeah.
But here we are at this point that Jalen Duren wants a lot of money. The Pistons don't want to pay a lot of money. And Duren is now stuck deciding, should I take a little less money for long-term security or bet on myself, sign a one-year deal, and then hit free agency next year? Honestly, if I'm 22 years, I can see Duren saying, I want to bet on myself. I want to take the short-term deal. But I can also see how many guys careers have we seen go and crash and burn because they got hurt. I mean, we just saw one here in Jaden Ivey, for example.
Right.
So, you know, it's a messy situation that'll likely just take some time to clear up. But Jalen Duren is not, much like Dylan Larkin, just for a different reason. He has not made many friends with the Detroit fan base this offseason.
You know, they were, and fans in general were kind of like at one extreme or another with Duren in general, even before this.
Yeah.
And I think it got even like a little bit of gas got put on the fire because when Banyama in San Antonio just took less than the super max that he probably could have demanded.
Wasn't like $5 million a year less or something like that, I believe. Wasn't a lot, but it was something.
It was, I think it was significant overall, like for the entirety of the contract. But he's like, I want to win. So if it could help us bring in other players, and they're pretty close to winning, like especially considering how far they got this year. So Wembanyama endeared himself to fans, of course, by doing that, with only just made things worse for Duren, at least from a fan perspective. So, but yeah, I don't know how it's going to turn out. I'm guessing he's going to be back in a Pistons uniform one way or the other. So he's just going to wait him out. Al, you're on mute.
I was on mute because I was typing.
Okay.
Yeah, apparently, just a real quick search, it was like a Wembanyama, instead of a 30% supermax escalator, he took a 25% escalator on his contract. So, yeah, that's a significant 5% over a contract like $250-some million. Yeah, that adds up. And also, Jalen Brunson also did something similar, where he took his extension a year early, which allowed for more salary cap space to be found, which worked out the best because it allowed him to sign guys like Cat and I think Bridges specifically, and that got them a title. So, yeah, I'm not one to tell a player to take a pay cut. I just, I would say, get your bag. We're talking about billionaires here. And all salary cap is to protect billionaires from themselves. So I've never been one. I hope MLB, for example, never has a salary cap, but I do. There is a little guy in the back of my shoulder saying, well, that, if you really want to win, do you really need to make $250 million, or do you make $275 million? Is there that much difference? You know what I mean? And I know I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth when I say that, but I can understand both sides of it, especially with the fan base, where they want to win, and they're making $50,000 a year, and you see these guys like Duran saying, I don't want $240 million, I want $270 million. Knowing that that's going to take up even more of their salary cap space. So I can understand the fan bases being absolutely infuriated, and also fan bases being delighted seeing what Brunson and Wembanyama did, even if the union can't be.
Well, let's get back to Duran, though.
Oh, Greg, now you're muted.
Am I?
No, I can hear him. I can hear you.
I was going to say, I don't think I'm. Can you hear me, Al?
Is he muted, or did we just lose him?
I'm.
No,
here.
I can hear him. I can see him.
I can. Hello? Can you hear me?
You're loud and clear.
Okay. Al? Can Al hear me?
Al, can you hear Greg?
Apparently not.
Al, can you hear me?
Right. I don't think you can hear either of us.
No.
I don't know. I don't know what, if anything, nothing seemed to change.
Hang on 1 second.
No, Al just left.
Oh, okay.
He's probably going to bounce back in.
Yeah.
There he is.
There he is.
Can you hear us now, Al? No?
How about now? No?
Sounds like he's typing. Let's see what he's going to say.
Yep.
Can't hear anything. Wow. Okay. Kick myself and come back. Okay. Back to Duran. I think that now that the pain of the playoffs has kind of worn off now, it's been 2 months since the Pistons were eliminated, essentially 2 months. I like to think that the fans have kind of reassessed the situation. Obviously, emotions were running high during both those series. And I know that he was the scapegoat. Duran was the scapegoat, and I get it. I know why he was bad. I'm not going to try to say he wasn't, but I think that everything that the fans were saying about his contract situation, that's why I said it was such bad timing that it happened to happen in his contract year. But I think that now that some of that is worn off and those emotions have kind of leveled off now, I hope people will look at this situation with a little bit more clarity and say, look, we've got a 22-year-old kid here. Does he have holes in his game? Yes. Can he fix them? Yes. He can. He's young enough. He can develop some aspect to his game, whether it's a little jump shot or a little baby hook or something. He can maybe do something to kind of keep the defenders a little bit more honest. If you do that in conjunction with the roster moves that they have made, and we presume will continue to make as he gets older, I think that the fans would realize that if they were to get rid of him, that they might come back to bite them in the you-know-where. Because I don't think anyone has any appetite to see Jalen Duran go to I don't care, even if it's Sacramento, a team like that, and end up becoming, blossoming into, oh my God, remember when he was a Piston? Because we've said that about a lot of players, Chris Middleton and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and I can name a bunch of guys who I know the Pistons wish they would have had. Luke, who's the kid? Luke,
Kennard.
Yes. There are a lot of players like that who, in the rearview mirror, you're like, oh shoot, wish they would have. Why did they get rid of these guys? Because if those guys had stayed and they went on to have pretty good careers with other teams, maybe not as superstar players, but certainly as really good role players that could have helped and could have contributed to the Pistons where they needed the help that those kind of players would have provided. I just have a really bad feeling that if the Pistons were to let Duren go, that they would drastically regret that. And I'm not sure in what shape or fashion, because let's say he does go to a team that's out in the boondocks like the Kings who are irrelevant right now. Still, you don't want a player like that putting up these great numbers and what if he becomes like the Kings' only star and he becomes like a great player and they start to build around him in Sacramento, and the Pistons fans are kicking themselves. Oh, why did we get rid of what were we thinking? Because they were thinking emotionally about what happened in the playoffs. They weren't thinking long term. And so it was all about get rid of Duren. And I know that was easy to think at the time, but you got to take a step back now and say, is that really the smartest move? And I don't think it is.
I agree with you. I mean, there are so many Pistons that they players or draft picks that they gave up on way too soon. I'll add a couple others. Spencer Dinwiddie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there you go.
SVG drafted him and then gave up on him after a year.
Yep.
Bruce Brown. They've been in the league a while. They've been they've been rotation players, if nothing else.
Right.
So, yeah, I think the Pistons have done that like many, many times in the past, and those are just rotational players. I can't imagine if they did it with a starter, an all-star, a second-team All-NBA guy who's 22. That's playing with a lot of fire as far as and that's just it. So Duren, from the time he came in to now, he's been like there 3 seasons, maybe 4 at this point. I lost track.
Right.
I think 4 actually.
4, I think at least. Yeah.
He's improved, and he's fucking 22 years old, man. Like seriously, his sort of like peak he's not even there yet. And the Pistons know it. The Pistons are prepared to continue developing his game as long as he's willing to. And they're willing to put in money investing in him. And I'm like, why are you abandoning? Fans, unfortunately, have this like very short-term perspective.
Of course.
Whatever's on the tip of their nose, that's as far as they see.
Right.
The Tigers go on a 3-game winning streak. Oh, they're going to win the fucking World Series. They go on a 2-game losing streak. Oh, the sky is falling. It's just like a roller coaster constantly. And then the same thing is here with the Pistons, but they're only seeing the player now in that current situation. It's like,
right. Al, are you back with us?
Yes, I had to switch browsers for some reason. Firefox wouldn't allow me to hear the audio, so I'm on. I hate Chrome, but I'm on Chrome now. So
okay, all right. Well, welcome back.
So yeah, well thank you. So, you guys had a hell of a conversation in my absence.
So.
All right. I guess while we're on, anything else you want to talk about when it comes to the Pistons before we move on?
No? One quick thing I'll say is I won't hold my breath for a blockbuster move.
Yeah,
that happens. Yeah. It's just I don't see it necessarily.
If the swing comes, it'll be at the trade deadline, and that makes sense to me.
So yeah.
Now NBA off seasons can be exciting. The NBA trades can be exciting. They do have blockbusters. Yeah,
I mean they do happen. It's just like at this point I don't see the Pistons making one unless.
Not this deep. No, I agree. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. Or NBA trades can be weird, like what Boston did. Paul George. Really?
Boston fans must be thrilled.
Yeah, oh my god! Yeah, they ain't happy right now for a legit reason. But I guess while we're on basketball, let's stick on basketball real quick, and I kind of see this NCAA, and it involves the NBA as well because of Dusty May. But University of Michigan, big changes are afoot. First off, head basketball coach Dusty May admitting he was tired of having to deal with NIL. And the recruiting grind. He even mentioned that he was recruiting almost immediately after he won the national title. He didn't have time to even really enjoy winning the title. So And he never did sign that supposed extension offer that was, according to Ward Manuel, just needed the signature on the line as dotted. And the signature never came, and Dusty May elected to become the head coach of the NBA Dallas Mavericks. He's going to be replaced by top assistant Mike Boynton Jr., who spent, at least this guy, he does have experience. He spent 7 seasons as the head coach at OKC. Not OKC, Oklahoma State. Same state, different league. Actually, Cade Cunningham played for Boynton his 1 year in the NCAA. And he only made the NCAA once, and that was with Cade. But the thing is, though, when he signed in there, his first several years were derailed due to NCAA sanctions. So he was like a 500 coach or so at Oklahoma State. But apparently he was able to keep the entire roster together. It looks like no one's going to leave because the portal reopens if a coach leaves. So they gave him a 2-year deal to be Michigan's top boss in basketball. But I think, which makes sense, it's kind of good for he gets a little bit of security. He can tell kids, I'm going to be here for at least 2 years. Yet it's not, if it doesn't work out this year, it wouldn't be punitive for Michigan just to move on. So I can see that happening. But meanwhile, the bigger story is what's going on, I guess, in the so-called front office of Michigan athletics. There's been a long, expensive investigation. I think I read today it was $12 million that pretty much started once the Sharon Moore, whatever the hell that was, went down, and looking into what's going on with Ward Manuel as athletic director at the University of Michigan. Well, it came out, first off, it was interesting. It was a Sparty fan who first kind of reported this, because apparently he has an in with one of the Michigan regents, and he said that it looks like he put it as Ward Manuel is going to be fired. It's been kind of changed since then. I know Greg sent a text that he saw John U. Bacon, who's definitely has ties to the athletic department.
Oh, yeah, he's plugged in, yeah.
Exactly. And he said it won't be a firing, it will be a buyout, so to speak, or it'll be a mutual parting of the ways. But it looks like it's going to happen because as of supposedly on Thursday, the results of that investigation are supposed to be released, or we'll see. Michigan tends to be really, really secretive of this kind of stuff. So who knows what actually comes out. But looking more and more, guys, like the under fire Ward Manuel, because so much shit has gone on at the University of Michigan over the past decade or so that I think it's time for everybody to part ways and Michigan to start over with a new athletic director. But I know, Nick, this is close, near and dear to your heart. I can't, between you and me, I can't believe Ward Manuel is still there. He should have been fired after not firing Juwan Howard for hitting a coach. They shouldn't even be at this point.
Yeah, we were talking about it a little bit, but he has this kind of mix of results in a way.
Yeah,
like
yes,
under his athletic directorship, they won a national title in football. They won it in basketball.
Yep.
They've done fairly well overall in basketball, except for like the few years under the last two seasons under Howard.
Yeah.
Their hockey team does well overall. They continued after Berenson retired,
but they had to fire a coach for a lot of harassment, and he lied about COVID numbers. Mel Pearson.
Sure.
Yeah. But yeah,
I mean that's the other half of it, right?
Yeah, exactly. He has good coaches, but bullshit happens under these coaches.
So I mean, Harbaugh was a handful. I would have been surprised if he would have stayed. Honestly, yeah. Harbaugh gets ants in the pans. He's a fucking pain in the ass. Honestly,
he really comes off as a bit of a nut job, to be honest.
He does. He would have done it no matter who the AD was.
Yeah.
Harbaugh has a limited shelf life with whatever team. It's going to be only a matter of time before he gets on the nerves of people in San Diego.
Right.
Or are they in Los Angeles now? Where the hell the Chargers are? And
we knew who you were talking about.
But I mean, that happened in San Francisco too. It just grinds on people's nerves. And but the fact is, he was a good football coach.
Yeah.
He was beating Ohio State. He was getting into the what do you call it? The bowl game, the playoffs thing, and 3 years in a row. So capping it off with a championship. And so Ward Manuel's time was a mixed bag. It was also actually better than his predecessor's time.
Like Dave Brandon? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the junk mail king or the junk food king. And
right.
So there have been like too many scandals that have just gotten attention and just haven't gone away. The whole Connor Stallion thing. God, what a pain in the ass that's been.
Yeah. No, it's funny. I think I saw on MGO blog that when someone was asked, what do you want to see in a new athletic director? And the answer was someone that is better at covering things up.
That's probably true. That's probably true.
Yeah.
I know people don't want to hear that, but like how many of these major programs aren't covering shit up?
Exactly. Yeah. But you're right though. He had some home run hires. Dusty May was an absolute grand slam game winning hire but he couldn't keep him long term. But I think that's just more of due to the current structure of the NCAA than not wanting to be in Michigan. I don't know how coaches can even do it at that level. It's in a lot of ways the pro jobs just seem easier because you are not in charge of roster building. Essentially, your job is to manage the players and do X's and O's. And I can see why I wouldn't be surprised if we see more and more. For the most part, most college coaches have failed at the NBA, but most college coaches aren't guys that used to move up, aren't guys like Dusty May. They were guys that, like, I think kind of ran out of chances in the NCAA, or they knew they were getting to the point age-wise is that if they were going to make the jump, now's the time to do it, like John Beilein, So if there's going to be a college coach that could be successful, that could join the few that have been successful, I could see Dusty May easily being one of them. He really does seem as like a player's coach, and that's essentially what you got to be in the NBA.
Yeah, I don't know, Al, either whether there's all that much difference anymore between being a pro coach and a college coach. I think back in the day when you were talking about, we can go back years, and this goes for really football too, but I'm talking specifically basketball.
Yeah.
The delineation between the college game, if you will, and the pro game was pretty stark. And, the whole thing was, well, you can't have a college guy go to the pros because the rah-rah stuff doesn't work in the pro level. But I don't know if that's really that kind of a thing anymore. I think it's more about what you just said. Yeah. Player relations and in a different manner, not just conveniently calling it rah-rah versus not rah-rah. I don't think it's about that anymore. I agree with you that Dusty May does have the goods to be a successful coach in the NBA. But the reason why I say the delineation is not as great as it used to be is because of all this NIL stuff and because of all this money that's thrown around. And I feel, and now the college programs have general managers on top of athletic directors. And I'm not sure that there's really that much of a different ecosystem in the pro game anymore than there was in the college game and vice versa. So I think you might see now, Beilein's a fair example because he's relatively recent and he did fall in the face with the Cavaliers. That's true. Yeah. But, I still think that the whole pro and college coach thing to me anymore is not as big of a deal. I mean, we used to kind of, snicker at guys who would go from the college level to the pro. They'll be back. And a lot of times we were right. They go to the pros and fail and go back to college. But I don't think that's as much of a big deal as it used to be because the college game has become so, stained with money and betting and all this other NIL stuff that is it really college anymore? Or is it just another branch of professional sports?
It is. It's a pro game. You're right. I'm sorry. Go ahead, dude.
It is, and there's more turnover in the rosters because of NIL and transferring. There's another thing, though, Greg, that you brought up. A guy like Beilein crashed and burned, and it's not a surprise. That's kind of the old sort of
Yeah.
expectation, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But he's also a really old coach. He was
True. That's
easily
It was
in
the
his
70s
summer.
at the time, yeah.
So, like, if Izzo were to go now to the pros, he would be a disaster.
Yeah.
Because they're used to a very old way of coaching in the NCAA basketball, and they've been doing it for decades.
Yeah.
Dusty May, yes, he's been coaching in the NCAA, but he's not even 50 years old yet.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's a really different animal.
Yep.
So he might have a shot to be able to transition out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As I'm thinking about it, like the only coach I can see that could make the transition back and forth was some guy as crazy like Larry Brown.
Yeah. He's always the first one that comes to mind. The only one to win a national title and an NBA title.
Exactly. Like Calipari was a disaster. Pitino was a disaster. And I think they were given full reins when they were brought in, not just coach, but they got like roster power.
Or you have someone like Brad Stevens who said, I don't want to coach anymore. And he moved almost he was fairly successful with the Celtics, but he moved on to the front office there.
Right.
So but it's but yeah, you're right, Greg. It's and the other thing I would add, it's almost as if in college now you can literally have to recruit your own guys every year. That's really what it's starting to feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's always going to be, it's essentially every player in NCAA is a free agent at the end.
Yeah, you have to re-recruit them. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, that's true.
I can see why he said, screw this. I'd rather coach guys that have 5-year contracts.
Yeah, no, I completely understand why a guy like May would look at the NBA. No, there's no question about that.
Oh yeah, exactly.
No question. But my point was that I don't know that it's as much of a transition.
Yeah, you're right. Anymore.
And Nick's point is a good one about Beeline being older. That's true. That's true. I want to get back to Manuel real quick. It's too bad that for him that despite presiding over 2 national championships, one in football, one in basketball, that his overall legacy at Michigan is really not going to be defined by that. I think people are going to look back on it as one stained with corruption, one stained with scandal, one stained with having the school in the news for all the wrong reasons, and I almost feel like those 2 national championships, which of course are the football one's going to go out. The credit obviously is going to go to Harbaugh, and the basketball one, the credit's going to go to May, as it should. But I mean, as far as like his body of work and he being able to say, look, I was an AD over 2 national champions. That's great. Looks great on a resume. Yeah. But I'm not so sure that those are the 2 defining moments of his legacy as an AD.
Yeah, it really feels like the defining moment of his legacy is going to be Sharon Moore.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. That was, and who knows? I'm really curious as to what actually comes out of the investigation, because there's been stuff rumored and leaked that the athletic department kind of knew that Moore was in over his head, or was essentially listened to his wrong. He listened to the head that was down there, not the one that was up here, so to speak. Right. And and said, how did this get so out of control where it got to the point where your head football coach is being arraigned in court?
Right.
And you literally have to fire the guy. And
of course.
And that's the other thing too. Going back to Nick saying how crazy Harbaugh was, he was Harbaugh's handpicked successor essentially.
Yeah.
Which what?
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah, and people say, well, and Moore wasn't an interim either. Even though the situation where Harbaugh left exactly the same way May left. After the hiring cycle was over, there was no realistic way to get a replacement. So you probably had to bring someone up from, inside your program. And Moore didn't get even an interim tag or even a short contract. He was given a 5-year deal. So, and looking back, if you think you'd maybe done a little, and that was seems to be another issue with Ward Manuel's Michigan, is the lack of vetting. Because you think if they would have dived into Sharon Moore's background a little bit, or asked around, or did something, maybe some of this stuff would have came up. And yet here we are.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about this, like, do you hand over a program like Michigan to like a rookie coach like that.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, okay, fine. Bo Schembechler never ran a big program.
Yeah, that was a different time, though.
But he was a head coach somewhere else.
Yeah, right.
So he kind of like paid his dues.
At Ohio State before that, so yeah.
And Michigan was down. Michigan was not a good program at the time. They had fallen.
Yeah, Michigan State was the premier program.
Right,
Michigan
exactly.
had fallen. Yeah.
So, but Michigan just came off of a freaking national championship.
Right.
Yeah.
They were defending champs, and I just had a feeling when they hired him, they were going to fire him very soon.
Yeah.
He was going to be over. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He was going to be over his head in no time. And because look at you had Beeline, right? You replaced him with Juwan Howard, he was
no experience
assistant
as
coach,
a head coach,
but no experience in college at all.
Yeah.
So
and that blew up.
And that was a disaster. That's like one thing I didn't see coming. It was him slapping people on the other team more than once. And he was a hothead. And but then Ward went and he replaced him with May, which was like a stellar hire, off the charts. So, and just came out of nowhere. So, he could have done that with football too. Why did he wait for it? I guess in both cases they had good coaches replaced by disasters, replaced by good coaches.
Yeah, and it also plays into how Greg says things have changed. Is that Michigan is supposedly it's not a stepping stone job; it's a final destination job. Mm-hmm. But in today's market, there are so many more final destination jobs because look at Indiana. 10 years ago, people would have Indiana. That's a stepping stone job. Or you're going to go there, you're going to fail. Now they're a national power. Now, obviously, it has a lot to do with the coaching and all that. But it seems like anymore at that level, if you're a head coach at one of the Power Two essentially conferences, the SEC or the Big Ten. Why would you, unless there's some sort of mitigating circumstances, why would you leave for the most part? Because the vast majority of those schools have crazy amounts of resource. Hell, even Northwestern is building a mega damn stadium. Northwestern. And they're throwing hundreds of millions of dollars at a stadium. If that doesn't say how much things have changed when schools or Vanderbilt becoming a ranked team that people wanted to see in the playoffs. Who would have said that 10 years ago? Right. That's how much things have changed. So it is going to be harder to, I think, lure guys at maybe like a supposed lower tier Power 2, Power 4 school than it would have been a few years ago. I can see why it would have been a little more difficult to replace Harbaugh when he did, but you could have at least looked around a little bit rather than just go show more, who turned out to be an absolute head case.
I mean, you could have poached from another powerhouse too.
Yeah.
I mean, that was always possible. Shit, look at Lane Kiffin. I think his goal is to coach every single team in the SEC before he's done.
Yeah.
So
exactly. Or for that matter, USC did the same with Lincoln Riley. He got him from Oklahoma.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and but no, I mean, the old days of the old days of your assistant coach earning his stripes and then ascending to the head coach position, that's not the case anymore.
Yep, exactly.
So
all right, with that, we have a couple other topics I want to knock out. I know the Tigers are always their favorite topic, so I'm going to save that for last. So at least let's touch on the World Cup, because I know Nick has had a lot of World Cup stuff going on all around him out there in Seattle. And I actually finally got to watch a couple games. And, of course, the wheels came off the U.S. men's national team in around the 16. This should be a fun game to watch, blah, blah, blah. And the wheels, it's just an ugly, ugly loss for U.S. They lost 4-1 to Belgium in around the 16. And once again, the topic is, guys, how come the U.S., which is one of the largest, most powerful athletic countries in the world, can't beat tiny countries like Belgium? And and once again, it looks like for all they talk about how the U.S. team has advanced. Well, no, it has gotten better and better. Yet it feels like their ceiling is making the round of 16, and that is it. That as far as they've gotten for decades. The '94 team they talk about, that's as far as they got. So it is what it is at this point. But it really, I don't know about you guys, but I hear all kinds of excuses. I've heard, well, the best athletes play one of the big four sports, or soccer is really a rich kids sport because it's all about travel teams and exclusive, joining very expensive club teams. And it's all about winning, not training. Hell if I know, because I'm no expert on soccer, but you would think a country of this size would come up with at least make it to the quarterfinals or something, but I don't know. I'm no expert.
You want my cynical view?
Please do. I love your cynical views.
Well, the teams that do well are either South American teams, or there are European teams who have colonized African teams.
Yeah. And
have African players of clearly African origins on those teams. Yeah. So that's my cynical view. But like soccer has not been the emphasis in the U.S. other than
every 4 years. It's kind of an emphasis. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not. It's just goofy suburban kids are playing soccer, but none of that organized shit doesn't. It leads to much, to be honest. Yeah. I don't see it necessarily. But it also might take time for this to really take a hold.
Yeah.
So,
it's just those things. Greg and I are old enough to remember when soccer was going to be the next big thing in the 70s. Going back to Pele playing for the New York Cosmos.
Yeah.
Or what was the team Detroit had in the in that league at that time?
The Express.
The Express.
Yeah.
And what was the Englishman that was there? Trevor
Francis.
Trevor Francis. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was their big star.
Yeah. The old NASL. Yep. Well, I think that it's okay. I think the American soccer fans just have to understand, just embrace that it's okay if the USA soccer team doesn't ever ascend to that of World Cup champion. I mean, I think that it's nice when they win, and I know that the fans got a little excited, but that Belgium game wasn't really much of a game, quite frankly. I mean, I know they briefly tied the game, but then moments later, which you don't see in soccer very often, Belgium took the lead again, and that kind of took all the, knocked the wind out of the sails, and then Belgium just kept piling it on. I think that it does take time for. It's not. And Nick's point is a good one about the teams that do well, and about the European colonization thing. It has to be. It's just soccer just is not in the lifeblood of this country. It just isn't yet. There are a lot of good kids that play the game, and I think that maybe more kids now that consider playing the game than ever before. You mentioned at the top of the discussion about some of the excuses being, well, it's the better athletes don't end up playing the. I'm not so sure that's not true. I'm not so sure that there aren't some really good basketball players and football players who could have been really good soccer players had they chosen that route. But where's the money? The money's not in soccer. The money's in football or basketball.
Or you have to go to Europe to make that money.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different things about it. But it's just not. It just hasn't. Soccer just still has not really sunk its claws, its meat hooks in this country in terms of it being something that there's a lot of legacy involved. There's generations after generations of U.S. soccer players. There's not a lot of that. Yeah. And all that comes into play. And then the other thing is it's a single – once you get past the knockout round, it's single elimination.
Yeah.
So you have to – you can be good – really good teams can be knocked out, because of the single elimination thing. So there's that as well. Germany. I had Germany in my bracket going all the way to the finals, and look what happened to them.
Right.
And they had a 40-year-old goalie and the whole 9 yards. But it's when you talk about a national program winning a world title, when you're going up against so many other countries who literally grow up playing soccer, because a lot of times that's the only sport they really have, quite frankly. It's tough. It's a tough thing. That's a tough road to hoe.
Yeah. And another thing to remember is people say, well, we win the gold medal in hockey or we win the gold medal in basketball, but how many countries are really elite in those sports?
Right.
And there's a lot more elite soccer countries than there are like hockey countries and basketball countries.
Yes.
Hell, we can't even win baseball half the time.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you think about it, soccer, it's the most basic of like the major sports. You need something to kick, and you need something to serve as your boundaries for your goals.
Yeah.
Like I even remember, playing in Michigan, we would put 2 bottles or 2 cans as our goals, and then we have a ball. That's it. Yeah. Only one person needs to bring a ball, and you've got a soccer game going.
Yeah.
Whereas look at all the fucking equipment and ice you need for hockey. Like that's not trivial to have all that shit. And
there's arguments that hockey has the same issue, is that it's a rich kid's sport now.
It's an expensive sport.
Yeah.
Kid growing up is growing out of his gear every year, and he has to pay for ice time and then layer on all the travel crap that goes with it. It's not trivial.
Well, I have somewhat personal experience. Linda, my significant elder's, her son lives in Texas. They have a 12-year-old plays travel baseball. He was just in New York to play ball. He goes, I don't want to know how much money they're spending on travel. Luckily they do very well for themselves and they can afford it. But I couldn't fathom when I was that age. For me, it was a big deal that I got to play in the Monroe County Fair All-Star Tournament. Now, that was as much travel as I got. Now you see kids around the same age. They're going around the country playing baseball, basketball, soccer. And it's absolutely unfathomable to me that how many kids might get left behind because they can't afford it, or they're stuck in a bad school district that doesn't have, it doesn't support the athletic teams, or whatever. Mm-hmm. There are so many different things that play into this that it really does feel like certain sports are becoming more and more gate-kept.
Very true. And if you look at it, like the U.S. has pro soccer leagues. Yeah. It's just, in some places that have it, it's popular in a sense. Yeah. That people do go to the game, but it doesn't bring in crowds like a football game.
Yeah, and it really feels like they also need to bring in like someone like Messi, like they did in Miami,
And for the U.S., that happens when like somebody like Messi's old.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's not keeping up with Barcelona and whatever teams out of the UK or Germany or somewhere, right?
Right.
So yeah, it could still grow.
Yeah.
But it's going to take time. It's going to take many generations being followers of soccer.
Yep. And the other thing to tell those people is relegation is never going to happen here, ever. It's just how it is. As much as it seems to work in the rest of the world, it's just something that's just not how sports were built here. So it's never going to happen. So it's not even worth talking about.
Yeah.
God, I wish that was the case in some of our teams.
Yeah. Because the English soccer pyramid is absolutely fascinating. It really is. Where you could literally start with a semi-pro team at the bottom and literally win your way all the way to the Premier League. I mean, it's possible. I mean, we're kind of seeing that with Wrexham, the team that's owned by Ryan Reynolds. But they're also spending a lot of money to do it. But they have gone up like 3 or 4 levels in the last 5 years or so. And they're now, I think, a level below the Premier League. And that's where the big money is made. But so I do find it really fascinating that how cool that kind of is. And where you see, where you watch games in the Premier League, where you see people going absolutely nuts when it's like the 16th and 17th place teams going at it to avoid relegation. And you see the fan base is going absolutely bonkers during these games with bad teams just because they want to stay in the Premier League. I mean, it's awesome and I love it. It's just not going to happen here.
Yeah, can you imagine the Jacksonville Jaguars playing the New York Jets in the last weekend of the season? The loser gets kicked out of the NFL?
Exactly.
versus earning the number 1 pick in a draft.
Yeah, right.
The closest we got to that is those wonderful years when the Lions sucked and they blacked out the home games because they couldn't fill up the stadium.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
All
right. With that, I think it's time to wrap this up. So we got to at least touch on the Tigers. They're at the All-Star break. Actually, I have the Home Run Derby on beside me. I haven't watched a bit of it. It's on Netflix, for Christ's sake. But the Tigers are at the All-Star break, 44 and 52. That's 4th place. 6.5 games back in the Central, 3.5 back in the wild card, but they have to leapfrog 7 teams. 3 Tigers made the All-Star roster. Riley Green, who's going to start. He's an injury replacement, but he's having a great year. Dillon Dingler might be the best catcher in baseball right now. He's on the team. And Kevin McGongigle is likely going to be Rookie of the Year, and he made the team as a shortstop. All 3 guys are very deserving. And apparently McGonagall is the youngest Tiger to make the team since Mark Fidrych. They were both 21. And Justin Verlander was named as a legend, and then as soon as he was named, Verlander said, oh, by the way, I'm retiring. I'm going to retire at the end of the year. I think no one's shocked. I know we were all excited that it might work out. Unfortunately, it worked out not at all, much like most of the other older pitchers that the Tigers have signed recently. So he says he wants to at least pitch a little bit more before the end of the year. We'll see if it actually happens, but this is his last year. At least he'll retire a Tiger. And on the Skubal front, guys, Bob Nightengale reported that Skubal badly wants to remain with the Tigers for the rest of this year, does not have any interest at all in being traded at the deadline, and he's on record saying he wants the Tigers to be buyers. And that went over really well with the fan base, as you might imagine. I guess we should talk about the Skubal stuff. Talk about talking out of both sides of your mouth. That you're not really honest, in good faith, want to negotiate an extension. That you're also saying, don't trade me. I want to be here. Well, if you really felt that way, maybe you should have been negotiating in good faith rather than there's both sides have been kind of stupid in this negotiation.
Yeah.
There's blame to go around both ways. But to say this now, why wasn't he saying this a year ago or more?
Well, the fans are the reason why it didn't go over well with the fans. It's pretty simple. I mean, it's basically saying, okay, you want the Tigers to be buyers to trade them. Yet you won't commit to being here longer than the end of the season. So how does that work? So you want the Tigers to potentially give up, future assets.
Yep.
To get someone for the short term, only to see you turn around and walk away.
Yeah.
And now the Tigers are without you and those assets that they traded for I don't even know what. And we all know what Scott Harris's background in terms of his track record in making those kind of trades anyway.
Right.
So it rang hollow. It at first blush, it's like, oh, cool, this guy our star pitcher thinks we can win the whole thing. But if you peel it back a little bit, you realize that he's doing exactly what you said. He's talking on both sides of his mouth. It's either pick a lane. Either you want out, and then I don't expect him to say I want out, but either sign on the dotted line, commit to the Tigers for the next 8 to 10 years. Never happened with Scott Boras. I get it, but that's what the fans are mad about. They're saying, okay, you want us to be buyers, and you think we can go all the way, and you think that this team is great, but yet you're only saying don't trade me now. Wait till the whole thing was it was clumsy, and I know he was trying to inject some sort of let's go get him guys, but it just everybody knows the situation. Everybody knows that this guy can be traded. Okay, fine. So he doesn't get traded at the deadline. They wait till the end of the year. Tigers are buyers, whatever that means. I don't even know what that means even. The Tigers are buyers, which I don't know what that even would entail. Yeah. And then they make moves because Skubal thinks they can win the World Series. Then they the season ends, whether it ends with them in the playoffs or not in the playoffs, either way it ends, and he's off to sign with the Dodgers on the day if the World Series ends. Yeah. So what does that accomplish? So that's why the fans are mad. They're not turning on him like they did on Larkin.
Yeah.
But that's why what he said did not have the intended effect.
Mm-hmm.
Did he say
like Larkin
said
that the Wings didn't make any trade deadline moves, and then saying, "Oh yeah, I want to be traded too." Okay, but yeah, it's very, very weird. I'm sorry, Nick. Go ahead.
I was wondering because I've seen a lot of postings lately of some reporter claiming somebody said something, and he may not have even said that. It was the first thing I thought, because I saw like a lot of empty comments by various sports insiders. I'm thinking mostly in basketball, but so I didn't even know how true that was. The only other thing, it's such a weird situation with Skubal. If Harris trades him now, what is he going to get? Not much,
right?
Because Skubal's a rental.
Sure.
Yeah.
Skubal's a rental. The only reason that somebody would give up real stuff for him is if Skubal signs a long-term contract.
Yeah, and also there would need to be a bit of a bidding war. How many teams are going to trade for him? There's not many that would even want him at this point, I don't think.
Right.
It'd be all big market teams.
Exactly. It's Boston, New York, whichever New York team, LA, maybe the Giants,
Yeah.
Maybe one.
Well, what's funny about that, though, Nick, is that because he's a rental, theoretically, we presume he's a rental, a team that could trade for him, depending on what kind of assets they have, could be a small market team. I hate to use that term. I hate those terms, small market.
I know what you mean, though. Yeah.
There's no reason why, for example, what if the Pirates made a play for him? Now, the Pirates. He probably would never re-sign with the Pirates. That's true. But if the Pirates had an attractive enough package, and they thought that they're a Skubal away, they put Skubal and Scanes on the same staff, same rotation, and all of a sudden, the Pirates are quietly having a pretty decent year.
Yeah.
Who's to say that the Pirates wouldn't say, we'll take a gamble and have Skubal be a Pirate for 3 months? Sure, why not? Or 2 months even. Sure, why not?
Yeah.
That's a franchise that's been desperate for some sort of juice for years. They talk about irrelevance. The Pirates have been irrelevant for I don't know how long. You bring in a guy like Skubal, you have a 1-2 punch of Skubal and Scanes. You don't think you're going to win some ball games?
Yeah.
You could see a Skubal wearing a Pirates jersey. It doesn't have to, in a rental situation, it does not have to be the Dodgers, Yankees, Red Sox, the usual suspects. It does not. I remember you remember this too, Al, when CC Sabathia was traded to the Brewers.
Yeah, that's right.
The Brewers of all teams.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
good. That's actually a good point. Where
that's right.
If it's not gonna, if you know the asking price is ultimately going to be on the lower side, why not? And plus, he would score you so many points with your fan base. As well.
And the fan base wouldn't even expect you to re-sign him.
Exactly.
That's the beauty of it all. You can make a play you could trade for Skubal.
And that's the even more cynical view, but you're right.
He'd be the Pirates would have him for a couple of months, and then the Pirates fans would be all excited, and they wouldn't even expect the Pirates to re-sign him because they know that he's out of their price range. So they wouldn't even you wouldn't even get blasted by the fans if you traded for him and then said, we can't re-sign. Oh, great. We had Tarik Skubal for 2 months. For 2 months, he was a Pirate. That might make people, and we went on a run, and we made the wild card, and we haven't had the playoffs in Pittsburgh in a bajillion years. That's a win-win situation for a team like the Pirates.
Yeah, how about Milwaukee if that kid is throwing 105 miles an hour, like you're going to win the Cy Young?
Yeah,
that'd be awesome. You're right.
You know what you just described, right? You just described the Mariners' philosophy at the last trade deadline versus the Tigers' philosophy at the last trade deadline. Right. Remember, we discussed this before. Right. It's like the Mariners GM said, I got to do something.
Yeah.
Right. And because it signals to my team that I'm serious about winning, regardless of whether
probably the two best position players available. at the time.
So whereas in the Tigers case, Scott Harris was just too busy playing with himself in his office. So
yeah, one of them ended up staying in Naylor. So
right.
Oh, speaking of playing with himself, I guess we. I don't know where that segue was going to go, but no. But
I'm still wondering, and I don't know if I want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we should at least touch a little bit on Justin Verlander, who was going to be at the All-Star game as a legend, much like Miguel Cabrera was. So Verlander can't even play; he's still hurt. And this is his last year. I mean, this is the guy people thought was going to have a legit shot at 300 wins. And then I think the last 3 or 4 years, his win total has literally fallen off a cliff because of injuries and whatever. Essentially, he's had like one good year out of the last, if you combine the last 3 or 4, like the second half of last year, where he was very, very good, one of the better pitchers in baseball. But he's in his 40s. He's had he had Tommy John a few years ago, and he's had some core injuries and here and there. And I guess really what it says when it comes to Verlander retiring, and he's pitched over 20 years. Same with Max Scherzer, for example, who is another guy who probably should retire at this point because he can't stay healthy. Is that I think that we won't see another 300-game winner because everybody thought if someone was going to do it, it was going to be Verlander. And he couldn't do it. And Verlander was a literal workhorse for almost 20 years.
No, you can't. You can't. You can't. There are not enough decisions.
Yeah.
Starting pitcher has anymore. Starting pitchers used to be, back in the day, and even when Verlander was first starting out, starting pitchers would have 29 to 32 decisions per year, because they were starting, 35 to 36 games. That was on the upper end. That's true. But even the guys who started like in the low 30s would have probably a good 25, 26, 27 decisions. Now, now you're done. Now these guys have like 17 or 18 decisions, a year, maybe 20 tops. And now to reach 300, you have to win, 70% of those for a long period of time. That's not going to 300's out the window. It's never going to happen. No way.
I would agree with you. I think at one point they did the math on Verlander like 1 or 2 years ago, and he would have still had to win like 15 wins per season for another for another 4 or 5 years. I think he's like 50 or 60 away from that, from 300.
I don't think he's that far away.
He needs 34. He's at 266.
Yeah, 266.
Yeah.
So 34.
That's
is a lot for him.
But your math was right. There was talk he needed to average around 13 to 15 wins a year over the last 4 or 5 years of his career. And I brought up his stats here. And his win total, his last decent year, he won 13 games in 2023. Since then, it's been 5, 4, and 0. That's been his win totals.
Yeah. So I did the thing, like I looked at the numbers like 2 or 3 years ago. So
yeah.
Skubal last year made 31 starts, won the Cy Young, had 19 decisions, 13-6. So there were 12 games, 40% of his starts, he didn't even get a decision, much less a win. So that's why that's why you'll never see a 300 game winner. 19 decisions and there's no way. In the past, there would have been no way you could win a Cy Young with 19 decisions unless you were a reliever.
Yeah. But
he won, and in the year before that, when he won the Cy Young on 24, 31 starts, 22 decisions, which is still not a lot, but he won 18 of those. He was 18-4. Last year was 13-6. You can't. You don't have the decisions.
Yeah.
Relief pitchers are getting more and more decisions every year. Well, I mean, relief pitchers come in so early into games. And it makes for shitty baseball, to be honest. And if you think about it, Skubal's numbers are good for like a number 3 or number 4 starter like 30, 40 years ago. And not better than that.
Right.
Like when the Tigers won the World Series, I think Morris had 19 wins. Petrie had 18.
Right.
And Wilcox had 17.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember the talk that they needed 55 wins out of their top 3 starters or 4 starters or something like that.
Yeah.
I remember Sparky talking about it back then. Yeah, they needed a certain win total, and wins have become irrelevant for the most part with pitchers. It really has.
Exactly. Just the way they play the game. They yank, a reliever comes in there, shits the bed on the first 2 batters, but is in there long enough for the team to regain the lead.
Yeah.
The reliever gets the win.
Right.
Which blows. They might have pitched like 1.5 innings.
Sure.
Or something, or less than 2 innings, whatever.
Yeah.
And,
I know.
So I hate the way the game is played now. I can't watch it. It's too bad. He had a good career, though. I'm hoping he goes in as a Tiger. I hate that tradition, but it exists. And it was fun to watch him while he was in his heyday.
Well, here's Alex Cobb and Verlander and Charlie Morton last year. All these old guys. I mean, I know Morton wasn't a pricey free agent; that was a trade. But these old, it was nice that they made. It's hard. I guess it's kind of hard. I'll be honest with you. You want to kind of shit on Harris for making that move, signing Verlander, but I can't say I would be going back. I would be revisionist history because at the time I said, well, he did pretty well in the second half of the season. His numbers after the All-Star break last year with the Giants weren't bad.
Yeah.
They really weren't. So I said, well, okay, going off that, maybe that's a sign. And he had been so durable and so resilient. There was really no reason to believe that the wheels were going to fall off. So I as much as I want to dog Harris on that one, the Verlander one, it's hard for me to now say, what were you thinking? When at the time it looked like it might have been a kind of a savvy move. And it wasn't like he gave the guy a 3-year contract. It was a 1-year deal. Didn't really break the bank per se. And maybe he could provide some mentorship and so forth, maybe give them 25 starts and, a 4.3 high 3 ERA, low 4s and whatever, and be a guy that can kind of stabilize the rotation, but it just didn't work out. So, but it's kind of hard for me to now say Harris screwed up. I know a lot of fans want to say that, but that's a hard. I don't think they're being honest with themselves if they say that.
Oh, you're definitely about that.
Would you believe it? This is one of the cases where I say Harris didn't necessarily screw up.
Right.
Verlander has a track record. He has a track record of coming back from injuries.
Right.
He won 3 freaking Cy Young awards and an MVP in the league. It's different than Alex Cobb. That's like, what the fuck are you thinking?
Yeah.
And I think they paid Cobb more than he's paying Verlander now.
I think maybe you're right. Yeah.
Or very close to it. And
Kenta Maeda was another one.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys weren't that good to begin with.
Right.
So it's really different.
Yeah.
And if you could get, 15, 20 solid starts out of Verlander in a year, great. I mean, who knew he was going to have an injury this bad and then, followed by a second one. So.
Yeah. Although those things happen when you're 43. I mean, that's.
It does, right? I mean, it's just like, and it's never ending. Even if he recovers off of whatever injuries he's got now, another one's coming probably.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but I think
I'm sorry.
I just think this is less of a. I'm less critical with Harris on this versus like a lot of the other shit moves.
Right. Yeah.
Looking in dumpsters from other teams.
Yeah, this is way low on the totem pole. Yeah.
Right. And I just for giggles, I looked back at the 2013 Tigers and that pitching staff they had.
Yeah.
Verlander Justin Verlander started 34 games. Max Scherzer started 32. Doug Fister started 33. Anibal Sanchez started 29. And Rick Porcello started 32 games.
Oh, my God. Wow.
That is unfathomable even to think of now.
Oh, my God.
They had 5 starters, all are 4, and right around 30 starts or above. it's crazy. That one, it shows how lucky they were that no one really got hurt that year. That was the year Fister. That was the year that Scherzer won the Cy Young as a Tiger. No, he was like 21-3. But that is great. Looking back at that, and then even in the innings, they were all Verlander, Scherzer, and Fister were all over 200, and then Sanchez and Porcello are right around 180. Yeah. Which also goes to show how things had changed, starting to change. When 200 innings,
right,
the workhorse,
right.
It's dropped from over 300 to 250 to 200, and now it feels like 180 innings is a workhorse.
Right. Oh yeah, for sure.
But God, I miss those days.
Oh yeah,
that was when they were trying to actually win, and you know it. See, that's the thing. I was thinking about this. The reason I'm not liking baseball and I'm kind of disheartened with hockey is the teams don't feel like they're trying to win. Like in the Tigers' years, in those years, it wasn't a given that they were going to make it to the World Series.
Yeah.
But every year they were trying, and you knew they were trying, and they were making moves every single year to try and get into the World Series and win a championship. And when they stop doing that, when you do the rebuild shit, or when you're in this sort of purgatory type situation where it's ambiguous, where the Tigers are an ambiguous organization. What do you, where are you? What are you, a rebuilding team still? Are you kind of going for it? Like, what the fuck are you doing? Mm-hmm. That's why I can't watch it. I can't tell. It's not like they don't feel serious to me.
Yeah.
So
and for what it's worth, I looked at the bullpen. Al Albuquerque, Phil Koch, Jose Alvarez. Oh my! Juanqui Benoit. Okay, he was good. And Drew Smiley, but good now. And Bruce Rondon. Remember Bruce Rondon?
Sure.
But it's like, goddamn, why couldn't they develop a bullpen back then? I know there was more reasons why they lost. I think 2013 is also the year that Cabrera tore up his groin and then tried to play through it.
Could be.
And his OPS went from 1,200 to 700. It dropped off a cliff. I think that was one of the main reasons that they lost. But goddamn, if they had any kind of a bullpen at that period where they were dominating the Central, you would have thought there would have been at least one World Series win in there. But it is what it is. So. But they are still entertaining this hell team to watch. So,
when did Ausmus take over as manager? Was that in 13 or was it after
14?
14. The next year, yeah. How that guy even got how he got a second managerial job is beyond.
Yes.
It was
that was the real. Well, there's the Angels.
Chance on him, but he got
the Angels.
It was the Angels. That's all we had.
There you go.
Really?
Yeah, it's one thing to get one job after doing it, but after the job he did in Detroit, he still got another manorial job.
He's the bench coach for the Yankees now, though.
Yeah, he's one of those baseball lifers who'll always be on somebody's bench or in a coaching box or something. But
yep.
See, that's one of those things. You're taking a really high caliber stocked roster with expectations.
Yeah. And
you put in a rookie manager. It's like when the Red Wings went from Scotty Bowman to Dave Lewis.
Yep.
That's a very good analogy.
Yeah, and that was the criticism at the time when they named Ausmus.
Yeah,
exactly what you said.
Yeah,
because they were coming off of they were World Series contenders, and there was a lot of backlash about that decision for sure. I'm not sure who else they interviewed that in that cycle. I can't remember who the other names were, but I remember it was surprising that Ausmus got the job for sure.
See, that would have been a better time to hire Ron Gardenhire anyway. But,
I think that was one of the ones the fans wanted. I'm not sure if he was. I'm not sure if he was available back then.
Available, yeah. I don't know if he was still with the Twins at that point, but Oh yeah. Hindsight 2020 and all that, but. Anyway, I think it's time to get out of here because we've been going for a good 2 hours. So it's I think that means time for our jerk of the week. Nick, you get to lead off. Who's your jerk?
I had a couple thoughts on it. I'm gonna go with I'm gonna stick with basketball. This was going on the last week and the week before, once free agency hit, and my jerk of the week are two so-called basketball insiders, which I don't think they're inside anything other than a colon. Because I think they were pulling stuff out of their asses. And that one of them was this, I think Brett Siegel was one of them. And then the other one is this Evan Sidery. These two guys claim to be basketball insiders, but nothing but they unsubstantiated rumors is what they report. And it's just like total garbage. And then what makes it worse is I've seen this like on social media is other idiots just recite this, what they were saying. They cite the original source like Brett or Evan, but non-discriminately. Like Woodward Sports was repackaging it. There's one other, what do you call it, profile called the Detroit Times or something like that. And
yeah.
They're just kind of like repackaging this shit. Like,
right.
Dumbasses, why are you reporting this? And it doesn't even sound as credible as saying rumor has it.
Yeah.
It's like so-and-so reports that the Detroit Pistons are, gearing up for like a big blockbuster trade or some other kind of big move.
Right.
Based on what? Based on what fucking source? Or they're talking about a certain player. It's like the Detroit Pistons have discussed fill in like famous player. His name
Right.
I'm like, the general managers throw out names all the time. It leads to nothing.
Right.
It's like this is not even reporting something with even speculative evidence.
Right.
So my jerk of the week are those guys for just filling up my timeline with bullshit speculation, just wasting time, and then idiots repeating it and reposting it. So,
and I think that's the worst part. These guys actually get light shine on because so many people either follow or retweet them.
Yeah, just brainlessly.
Yeah, all they are is aggregators. These guys don't do anything but steal content. That's essentially what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And then they get paid because they have a blue check, apparently.
There you go.
Yeah. Well done. Well said. Greg, you're up. Who's your jerk of the week?
I'm going to go with Carolina Hurricanes owner Tom Dundon.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys heard about this scenario. Well, obviously they won the Stanley Cup. And obviously all the players' names and the coaches' names get engraved on the Stanley Cup.
Yes.
That's fine. That's fine. But Dundon took it a step further, and he had it says that up to 50, according to the NHL's rules, up to 55 names per team can be engraved on the cup in any given year. And there's parameters about what players can be engraved depending on how many games they played and so forth. Well, Dundon, though, had his entire family, like 5 or 6 kids, and name engraved on the cup. And in the process, because those names took up some of the 55 limit, like people, I think there were like some equipment managers and the like who got left out.
Yep.
And that, of course, created a firestorm of controversy, which kind of turned a really feel-good story about the Hurricanes finally winning the cup into something negative, because this guy just got dragged on social media, this Dundon, for doing that, for putting and some of these kids are in single digits in age. I think one was 7 years old. And I saw some clowns on social media trying to defend it, say, well, that's part of a trust, and the kids are part of a trust, and if he were to die tomorrow, then they'd be the owners. Whatever the case, I don't want to go through any mental gymnastics. Let's just be kind of common sense here, to put your whole family on the cup at the expense of. Now, if it were like unlimited amount of people, I can maybe see it, but at the expense of people who really did deserve it, who were there every day, you can debate how much a equipment manager had to winning the cup, but the equipment manager was there doing a job every single day. The kids of this Dundon guy didn't do anything. All they were just his kids. So I was aghast as well. I couldn't believe that this was. But they say that I guess the owner has the final say. He or she can decide whose names go on the cup, and that's what he chose to do. And it was really a bad optic look. And if I was one of those kids, I'd be embarrassed. I don't know if I want my name on the cup. If I knew that I didn't earn it, and other people whose name should be on it were left off.
Yep.
That's disgusting.
Yep. Because I remember the Firestorm like 30 years ago or something like that, where Peter Pocklington, when he was owner of Edmonton, put his dad's name on there.
Yeah.
And if you look at that ring now, it's X'd out. The NHL made him take it off.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But yeah. And Dundon's a real piece of work. He made his billions not just in subprime loans. It was subprime car loans.
Oh,
so
boy.
he was taking advantage of people in desperate situations. No, he's the type of guy who his company was giving high interest usury rates, interest rates on old cars to get he is an app and he's tearing apart the Trailblazers. The Portland fan base is up in arms about this guy. So I don't know how Carolina's doing it, because they got an absolutely shit human being as an owner, and putting his kids under this microscope is absolutely moronic. I'm with you there. All right, my jerk of the week. I'm going to go with Major League Baseball for a different reason. The Major League Baseball amateur draft was this weekend.
Mm-hmm, yep.
And that's interesting. That's actually on NBC. Actually getting national television like the NBA and the NFL drafts. But it turns out it was only for 90 minutes, and it was only the first 10 picks. And then if you wanted to watch the rest of that first day's draft, you then had to switch to the MLB network. And apparently, during the MLB network coverage, they were actually starting to tear down sets and lights and stuff, and you could actually hear it if you were watching it.
Okay.
And then the next day, it wasn't even televised. If you wanted to watch the second half of the MLB draft, you had to watch on MLB.com on a stream. And it was absolutely insane.
Oh my God!
A league of this size, has this much trouble on having their draft televised and making it seem so Mickey Mouse. If anything, they should say it is what it is. It's not really that big of a deal, because nobody knows who the players are. It's not like the NBA or NFL. You can't make I hate calling it a sow's ear, but it is what it is. You can't make a silk purse out of it. When very few people know who these people are. I don't even know who the Tigers drafted, for example. I know I've seen it. I saw it in the papers. I don't remember the kids. I also know I think he was a pitcher from Coastal Carolina. That's all I know. But the whole thing, between only being 10 picks televised, then you had to start switching channels all over the place. And the other thing also to bring up is that MLB moved it because they wanted to do this. Because remember, the draft used to be like a month or so earlier, at least. So you had, at that point, your scouting department could concentrate on the draft. But now, the trade deadline is 2 weeks from now, give or take.
Yeah.
So they're trying to do draft and also trying to figure out what other teams have in their minor leagues in case you want to make deadline deals. It's absolutely asinine how Major League Baseball has done this draft. And then they're going to screw it up even more if you look at some of the CBA stuff where, they're talking about just, I don't even want to get into the CBA. We'd have to have a whole long discussion about some of their proposals right now. So I'm not even going to get into it. But my jerk of the week was the MLB baseball, MLB, for their absolute asinine handling of the amateur draft. It's ridiculous. Not that I want to watch, but if
I wasn't aware of that.
Right. Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
I saw some postings on social media.
Dismantling sets, yes. In the middle of the draft. Because it wasn't televised on a network at that point. So
right.
Oh my God, it's silly. But all right, with that, guys, let's get the hell out of here. So, as always, Greg, you get to lead off. If let people know what our social media is. Anything else you got going on, please fire away.
Sure. Please subscribe to my Substack, gregeno.substack.com. I will be in your inbox every Monday should you do that. Follow me on X at Greg Eno. Follow Knee Jerks on X at the Knee Jerks. I want to thank, as usual, my lovely wife Sharon for putting up with this nonsense. And thank you, gentlemen, for making Monday nights so gosh darn fun.
And, of course, our resident West Coast resident, That would be Nick Milanovich. Where can they find you online?
If you want to talk Detroit sports, I'm on Twitter at Nick Milanovich. So my name is first and last name is one word. If you want to talk non-sports or interact there, I'm on Instagram at cat up a tree as one word. So, but that's totally sports or unrelated to sports. So
yeah, you'll see cool carvings and things like that.
that's right. What I do when I'm not because I'm not watching the Tigers, I have time to do other shit.
Exactly.
So.
All right. Again, I want to give a shout out to you guys for putting up with these shenanigans every couple of weeks. And I don't know what happened to my browser where Firefox stopped handling the audio. Thank goodness Chrome worked, or I would have been on my phone or something. But anyway, thanks to you guys for running the show for a while I was off trying to figure things out. As always, we would appreciate if you would like, share, and subscribe to the show. We're, as Greg said, follow us on social media. All our show notes, all the links to our social media, all that fun stuff can be found at thekneejerks.net. You can also download the MP3 from there. We are available anywhere podcasts are found. So go to Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music, Deezer, Radio Public, pretty much any podcast aggregator. Just do a search for the Knee Jerks. You will find us. Please like, share, subscribe. Let us know what you think. We would much appreciate it. And of course, we live stream video of every show to both YouTube and Twitch. Again, the Knee Jerks on each platform. All right, I think it's time to get out of here. So we will. I'm guessing we'll be back in 2 weeks. I'll be back up in the wilds of northern Michigan, and Greg will still be dodging trees that are falling all around him. And Nick will probably be wearing a parka because it's going to be towards the end. Summer's getting close to fall, and it's going to be starting cold and rainy in the Pacific Northwest, I'm guessing. So, no, Nick's been going to the beach and carving things. He's living the good life out there. So,
which I'm going to do in a few minutes.
There you go. So, until this time, 2 weeks from now, we'll probably we might be able to start talking some Lions, maybe. Because we'll be getting real close to training camp. Mm-hmm. So, and who knows what will happen with Doran and Larkin and everything else in the Tigers. So there'll be lots to talk about. But 2 weeks from now, this is Al Beaton saying good evening, good luck, and aloha along with Nick Milanovich.
Good night, guys.
And of course, Greg Eno.
Ciao, everybody. We'll see you in 2 weeks.